Hello, welcome to the Marlborough Public Schools Superintendent Corner. I'm Mary Murphy, and
I'm R.J. Skaza, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
And welcome to episode 4. Today we are thrilled to have Goodnow School Principal Amy Mulkerin with us today. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Even though I can't talk today, obviously, so thank you for coming. We have not highlighted you yet, so we wanted to invite you here to first highlight you as an educator and then to talk about some of the important work you've been leading district-wide. So first of all, could you give us a little history on your experience in Marlborough Public Schools?
Sure. Currently, I'm in my 4th year as the principal of the Goodnow Elementary School. I am an elementary school teacher. I was an elementary teacher for 14 years before taking on school leadership. My first school leadership job was as a special education team chairperson. Then I was an assistant principal for 4 years, and now I am in Marlborough. My first year in Marlborough was 2019-2020, which was a very exciting first year.
So I'm assuming that year didn't go exactly as planned, but you had a major project that you worked on when you entered the Marlborough Public Schools. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. 2019-2020 started out really fun. I was a principal without a school, which was actually pretty exciting. So my job was to prepare to open Goodnow, which didn't have a name yet. So I spent my days working alongside the other principals in the district. I worked in their schools with them, in their offices, and learned more about the Marlborough Public Schools. And the other part of my days was spent on the construction site in the trailer, picking out furniture and carpet and paint colors and things like that to kind of get the inside of the school ready for students.
And you did a wonderful job because everyone comments about how bright and welcoming the school is. You also had the opportunity to attend the different meetings planning because there was a major reorganization of elementary staff at that time. So you were at the table and everyone knew who you were as people were opting in or requesting different positions. Did you think of that? How was that time for you as a principal and for the staff at that time as they were identifying where they were going to be going?
Yeah, so that whole process was really kind of, like a dream job. I was quite literally building a school from the ground up. So I was involved in every phase from the hole in the ground to, the physical building, but then the most exciting part was building the inside of the building, which was all the people. So it was great to have the gift of time to connect with and meet the teachers and be in their classrooms and talk to them about teaching and learning, so that I had a connection to them before we all moved into our new space.
Yeah, I know that one of the things that we all talk about was how fortunate we were to have Goodnow when school opened up in the fall of 2020. It allowed us to identify kindergarten, first, and second graders as priority groups and allowed us to have those students in school every single day, where other districts didn't have the space or the ability to do that. So that was a wonderful opportunity, and you helped keep everything on track and ready and welcoming, so thank you for that. But the Goodnow School, I think we're starting to talk about this, was built to house how many students?
We were built for somewhere between 500 and 600.
500 and 600. And right now your enrollment is?
805.
805, yes.
So would you just talk to us a little bit about how you've grown school culture and how you have grown as a school in enrollment and kind of what you've done to foster that growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think the aesthetic of the inside of the building is really a nice connection to who we are as a school. We're bright and vibrant and exciting. We are full and busy, and we have a large staff and a large student population, but it really kind of fosters this nice hum of busyness and our excitement in our building. And it's really interesting to start at zero and build your structures in school, like how does everybody go to lunch, and how do we go to specials, or how do we use our lockers? We have lockers. So those basic structures were the first thing that we worked to put in place. And then we started to work on agreed upon rules of the road, how our school would run, what our core values would be. And then as a staff, we built our school mission statement, which guides our work. And then once the kids were sort of used to their new space, we voted on and elected a school mascot, Go Grizzlies, and started to celebrate who we are as people. The first year open, we all came together for the first time, but couldn't really come together. Yeah. We came together to stay apart. So that was not as expected. So the last 2 years have been a lot more exciting to sort of be together as a school community and start to build what our traditions are going to be and sort of how we all work together.
I imagine when community members hear that the school has about 200 students, more than what we expected when we originally planned the school, they would be concerned that you could have 30 or even more students in a class. But though you have more than 20 in generally almost every classroom, if I remember correctly, you don't have extremely large class sizes. How are you accomplishing that?
Creativity and the gift of space. The school is built to be flexible, and it truly is flexible, and we've needed to flex that. So we've had room to work, and we've sort of rethought some of our spaces and reimagined some things, but we really have beautiful space for our classrooms. Our class sizes are in the low 20s like the other elementary schools. So we've been able to kind of move around and settle in as a larger school, and some places aren't where they were planned, but we have had the gift of a little bit of wiggle room to be able to kind of spread out a little bit, and we're doing great.
Reality check though, do you have the gift moving forward to add more classrooms? Or yes. And we know that, so just saying it out loud. At some point, I think that we have talked about the fact that if our enrollment continues to increase, either we'll be increasing class size or looking at potentially loss of some spaces that we don't want to lose, like the art rooms or the music rooms. And so thank you. And we're so thankful that we have the Goodnow School.
And with a large school, and you mentioned community, I happen to know that you were instrumental in us getting our restorative justice work up and running in the Marlborough Public Schools. I know that because I served on a committee that you supported, and you and I have worked hand in hand in our partnership with Suffolk University in getting our staff trained in restorative justice practices. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that's been helpful to your school community for both students and staff?
Yeah, I think the work, I'm grateful for the work and the commitment around restorative justice from the Marlborough Public Schools, because for a brand new school like us, it was very timely. The driving force of restorative justice is around building strong, connected communities. So for us, that was critical. We were all new to each other, and the ability to kind of gain a toolbox to help build up strong, healthy communities and strategies for connection and knowing each other deeply was something that kind of fit right into place for us as a new school. In working originally my first year in Marlborough with then Superintendent Bergeron, the more we talked about that work, the more it was a good match for the needs of the district as a whole. So it has been very nice to work together and with the district in getting this work up and going, because I think we're just hearing so many positive things from kids and teachers about how they feel like we have strengthened their community and we have made them more connected and given kids more voice.
Amy, there will be a lot of community members that may watch this and never heard of restorative justice. Could you just give a brief overview of what we're talking about? Yeah.
The foundation is on building strong communities and building communities where the the power of the group is shared, and kids and adults have equal voice and know each other deeply. And that's the foundation of their work together. The additional phases for restorative justice is providing a scaffold for what to do when things go wrong in your community. So for us, that at the elementary level, we have conversations around dealing productively with harm and conflict in a way that respects everyone involved. And then what restorative justice also addresses what to do when things go really wrong. So when there's been large-scale harm and conflict, how to address that and how to reintegrate wrongdoers back into the community of the school. So that's kind of the work. The work stays centered and focused on the community and building up the community and going back to the community when there's a problem. And then it also empowering the community to kind of address harm and conflict.
As we have been rolling this out for the last couple of years, and you and RJ have been leading this work across the district, we have been talking about training staff in different tiers. Could you, so our first priority is has been training all staff members in Tier 1. And what does that training provide teachers, and what does that look like in their classrooms?
Sure. So the training happens in smallish groups in the low 20s. Again, for a new school, that came right at the right time, because the way that we train in Tier 1 with Suffolk University is to be in Tier 1. So you work as a community, you sit in a circle, you share equal voice, you talk about yourself, you talk about sort of your story, and you were able to tell your stories and who you are as a person in order for the people you're working with to connect with you and know more about you. And in that, Suffolk teaches the process.
Yeah.
So I know for lots of the teachers I talked to, they're saying that that was one of the best professional development things they've done, because it felt so good to really be in it and to connect with each other and to talk about how to support each other in the work.
And this training has also been a tremendous commitment from our staff, because they all have been participating in this training beyond the school day. Yes. And what last I heard, I thought it was over 300 staff members have been.
It was over 300 the last time we've checked, and since then we've probably trained about 60 more staff members, and we're continuing to go at it pretty strongly. I was wondering, so parents might hear something different on the other end of the phone when a principal calls home. If something has happened at school, it might not necessarily be a traditional disciplinary response that is taken. So what might a parent hear on the other end of the phone if you were to call home after dealing with a matter in a restorative manner?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a refreshing call, because parents are expecting us to say someone's in trouble. But trouble, we've redefined that, and we've kind of talked about harm was caused. Your child was involved in a situation where harm was caused. And the kids learned that harm can mean a lot of different things. You can hurt someone physically, or you can hurt their feelings. You can hurt the school, the community that you are in. But that there's an onus to repair the harm, to recognize the harm and to repair it. So whether I call or someone on my staff calls and talks to the victim's family or the perp's family, for lack of a better way, the focus is on harm, and that harm happened, and that's okay, but you're gonna have to make a commitment to repair it. And so we work with a very directed script on how to help kids say, I was harmed, and this is what I need to feel like that harm's been repaired. So it gives a voice to the person that was harmed, and it gives an opportunity to the wrongdoer, sometimes it's both or both, to say, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna fix this. So sometimes that's harder than just having a consequence. It's hard to sit and talk about what happened and to take ownership of what happened and to commit to repair. And it takes a little bit longer, but usually families are very happy to hear that we've done that work and that we've taught the lesson of recognizing the harm you cause and the obligation to fix it.
And recently, there's been a change in legislation around how schools are responding to discipline. And fortunately for us, we have some structures in place where we are a little bit more well-equipped to deal with that. I think ultimately, looking for measures to repair harm, like you said, prior to any other disciplinary consequence that can be issued. And I appreciate what you said about sometimes that's harder for the student than accepting the fact that there's a suspension or a detention or a more traditional punitive response. Can you just tell us a little bit about the format, like the talking piece in the circle,
Sure.
or maybe what a harm and conflict circle looks like, because that's a little smaller, and the students needing to be prepared for that a little bit prior to it actually happening?
Sure. A general community circle in the classroom, we see those probably daily in the school, at least a couple times a week. And usually you can see things that represent something special to the group. They might have some fancy thing on the floor, like a plant, and there are usually things added that are significant to the group. And typically the group uses a talking piece to take turns, and everyone else is a listener, and it's passed around. So that's how a general community circle runs in a classroom. In a harm and conflict circle, when something has happened, we typically don't sit down to talk about it immediately because it takes a little bit of time to prepare. And in preparing students, we usually rehearse with them, I guess, saying, this is what you're going to be asked. Are you ready to talk about that? You're going to be asked to talk about the harm that was caused to you or the harm that you caused. And we sort of go through the script of questions, how are you feeling? What have you thought about since? How were you harmed? What would you need to feel like the harm had been repaired? So we always make sure kids are willing and ready to sit down and to process together. That's a lot of times that's the next day. It generally goes pretty smoothly once everybody's ready. And we would choose a different approach if it just didn't match or anyone didn't feel comfortable talking that way. But, we're finding that we just get a stronger impact in investing the time there than just kind of dealing with things and closing the book. And then in terms of when something really big goes wrong, because sometimes really big things still go wrong, there is a process for recovering from that and being welcomed into your community again. So that's sort of what the last level of restorative justice is recognizing that sometimes big things happen and sometimes big consequences happen like suspension, but really seeing that impacts the community and thoughtfulness to how to prepare you to re-enter your community and who your supports are when you do.
Can I circle back because RJ did mention the fact that there was a recent change in some of the laws for student discipline, and I don't know that many community members or parents are aware of it, and so restorative justice is one of the steps that is recognized statewide that should be implemented for students that are having issues in school in order to document that we have tried multiple strategies and tried to give them the tools and supports before we do take additional steps such as a suspension. And we're not talking about all discipline issues, but we're not talking about ones like what we call the big threes, which is drugs, staff assault, or weapons, but we are talking about almost everything else. So school fights, or even bullying, or destruction of school property, or just routine, like the discipline that many principals see on a daily basis. Hopefully, the steps that you've taken prior to this will decrease that so it would be more rare in your community.
Yeah, I hope so. I think tier one and being part of a community where you feel like you have a voice and you feel connected and you're feeling adults see you and hear you and know you will build stronger practices, and kids will feel more comfortable and will avoid a lot of those things, or even the longer process of dealing with lower level incidents will help deter bigger.
You and I have talked about, and I think that you've talked to Ajay about this as well, because there are, we have tried to be, or the two of you have tried to be very slow and thoughtful and really planned out each step of the way to make sure that we're consistent, that every staff member is trained, and that it's a long-term plan. We're not trying to do something for just 1 year. So that this is year 2 of really significant training. But it's not just the teacher training. You were sharing to me the other day, you had an on-site visit, right? There's also coaching, right?
Yep.
So that's another piece of it. Could you just talk for a little bit about that? Because I'm just so, your excitement about that time is just contagious.
Well, we have a really nice partnership with Suffolk University, and they highlight us quite a bit too. They're really proud of the work they've done with us, so we get a chance to talk to other districts. RJ and I have to talk about our journey and to share it, and they come in and provide maintenance. My staff and I and our team that drives it, we need maintenance. So, for example, our coach was with us yesterday. She sat in about 6 circles. She met with my building-based team and I for a while, and she spent some time with teachers talking during PLC about how circle work is going. And then after she visited their circles, she gave them feedback. And I think we were sliding a little into marching through the steps and sort of we needed a little nudge to get back to the core of knowing and connecting to each other. We were kind of just marching through the paces we had gotten good at holding community circles, and she kind of reminded us of some of the core parts of knowing each other and giving kids voice, which was, we weren't far off the mark, but it was a nice reminder. It was a nice little, just clean it up a little, to make us stronger at what we're doing. And the teachers really enjoyed the opportunity to say, I've been at this for a while, and here's where it gets tricky. Or I've been at this for a while, how can I go deeper in this way? The teachers really loved having time with the coach. I think when I met with her, I was writing furiously because I was taking so many new pieces of what she was saying to me from her experiences.
Thank you.
Well, you've certainly led the charge on a number of fronts with opening a new school, establishing a school culture, a mission, a mascot, leading our restorative justice work. So we're very grateful for all that you've done and all that you've brought to Marlborough Public Schools. Is there anything aside from that you're proud of? Maybe something with the design of the building or something that's coming up soon at Goodnow Elementary? Anything you want to share with the community?
I'm very proud of the colors and the excitement and the brightness of the building. And if you've seen the online video, the bathroom tiles in particular, very exciting to me. No, I'm just really proud that we did it despite a pandemic and a big influx in enrollment and a lot of shifting. We're a school now, and that feels really good. And we have all of our own traditions and things that are really kind of falling into place nicely too. My lead teachers and I met this week, and they're gearing up for Spring Into Reading, and it'll be our 2nd annual. So it's nice to have a 2nd annual, which will include a bigger family event as the culmination and a whole school read. So now that we've kind of got it down, we can really sort of water the garden and work on making things a little more robust, where they seem to be a nice match for us.
Well, thank you for being here with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we hope that you will join us again next month. Thank you. Goodbye.